Tuvia Tenenbom, my pleasure to welcome you to JM in the AM.
Pleasure to be with you.
I appreciate that. So you were born in Bnei Brak.
I mean, physically in Tel Aviv.
Ah.
But my parents are from Bnei Brak, and after the hospital, after I was born, I was taken to Bnei Brak. But on my passport, it says Tel Aviv.
Right. But the reason I bring it up and the reason I say it like that is because, and I always like to point this out, you know the whole routine. In other words, when you go and explore Mea Shearim,
Yeah.
or you have an adventure that, you know, involves our people, especially those who are part of the religious and ultra-religious community, you're very, very familiar with it.
Yes and no. Yes, I was born into it, but that has been some years. To remind you, I'm 21 years of age.
Right.
So obviously, it took some years. And when I was there, I was a very young boy chick. And I saw the world then from the perspective of a young boy chick. Now I got a chance to see the world, to replay my life decades later, and to see it from a perspective of a grown-up, which is very interesting. Number one. Number two, I didn't know anybody in Mea Shearim. You know, by the time I came back, you know, because most of the time I was in Bnei Brak.
Right.
And so for the book, I was in Mea Shearim. I was with my wife, Izzy, and we were there for about a year and a half, including also some weeks in Bnei Brak, Boibrik. And to my luck, and I didn't know that, this is my first surprise, when I go into Mea Shearim, I walk on the street, and everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody, Reb Tuvia, wo seid ihr? Reb Tuvia.
And how did they know you?
This is what surprised me. They read the books.
They were from, and at that point,
yeah, Tuvia, in the book, in your book, Tfoises HaYehudi, because Catch the Jew is Tfos HaYehudi in Hebrew, right. And they say Tfoises HaYehudi. Right. In Tfoises HaYehudi, on page 137, Amud Beis.
They give you these details, huh?
So the 5th line.
So just go back. Just go back for a second. I get that, but just go back for a second. You leave that whole Bnei Brak arena at what age? Like, are you gone from there as a very little kid or as a teenager? When are you?
I went as a teenager. I left the Ultra-Orthodox world, and I moved into the Orthodox world. I moved to Yeshivat Merkaz Harav.
Oh, wow.
Yerushalayim. And then when I was in Merkaz, I saw they don't know how to study, they don't know Talmud, because compared to what I learned, you know, it was totally different. I mean, it's like you cannot compare. There's no chayes, there's no. It was not the way we studied the Talmud, you know, it was totally different. Not to mention Shar Yosher, Reb Shimon Shkop, and all that thing, Nechefze and Gavre, and what do they know in Merkaz Harav? They know nothing. I mean, in comparison, you know. And in the Haredi world, we learned, you know, Oy schon niknes be shlosh drochim, ay. But you're and then I shall niknes be shlosh drochim, the konat atzma besteder be.
One second, Tuvia, but you're surprising me with this. In other words, you go to Merkaz Harav, and what? The spirit, the atmosphere is different when it comes to Torah study there?
They don't know how to study.
What does that mean?
It's like so it's
an academic pursuit instead of
kind of academic, you know.
What was it in Bnei Brak? It was what kind of pursuit?
I told you. This is the way you study, you know.
So it was more of a spiritual, uplifting experience.
Number one, and number two,
it was an avoda. It was an avoda compared.
Even in Yeshiva Ktana, I studied in Orisrol, Rav Yosef Rozovsky. Everything goes Reb Shimon Shkop. Everything goes Chefze and Gavre. Are you sitting on the chair, or does the chair sit under you?
Right.
So say to an average person from Merkaz Harav, and he thinks you lost your mind. What do you mean? The chair sits underneath you. Is you don't understand Chefze, you don't understand these things.
Right.
You know, it's like
had they handled Brisker Chakiras.
They don't even know who Chaim Brisker was. Forget it. They don't know. The weiß nicht gut nicht. I mean, it's like, it's not. And they don't have the Hasidic passion. This is the Haredi, the Heftzan Gabriel, and the Hasidic passion, They don't have it.
How long were you in the Merkaz Harav area?
I was 6 months in Merkaz Harav.
And then?
And then I decided, okay, this is not for me. And then I moved, I met from Shapiro, and he both decided this is not for me.
Wow.
And then I moved to Esder.
Where?
In Ma'alot.
Wow.
So I went to Esder, and then I immediately realized that in terms of Talmud, they have nothing to teach me. And I didn't even go to the classes because I said this is the classes for dumb people with low IQ.
Wow.
That's the way I saw it,
This was a Hesder Yeshiva in Ma'alot.
Hesder Yeshiva in Ma'alot. So the Rosh Yeshiva came to me and said, Tuvia, how come you don't come to classes? I study by Reb Shmuel Rozovsky, and I teach in the style of Reb Shmuel Rozovsky. I said to him, listen, and I studied by Rabbi Yosef Rozovsky, was the brother of Reb Shmuel, and much more Talmud Chochem than him. I don't need you to teach me how to study Gemara. And he looked at me and said, you study by Rabbi Yosef Rozovsky? I said, yes, of course. He said, okay, you don't have to come to classes. I have nothing to give you.
Wow.
But what it gave me is I served in the Esder. I served in the army.
Right.
I was in the tank units.
Around what year?
And I became a tank driver.
Around what year was this?
77, 78, something like that.
Post Yom
So I became a tank driver. That's where I learned how to drive. I did not learn how to drive on bicycles, on cars. I came from a totally different world. To this day, I don't know how to drive a bicycle. Kill me, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to swim. I don't like beaches. I don't know how to swim. They never taught me how to swim.
But it's funny because you come off as such a courageous and brave person. I would think that the sense of adventure would be very high, and that these types of activities.
Of course, I tried. I fell. I went even to a small pool. I drowned.
So you gave up.
It's like, what's the point? I said, I lived all my life at that time without a bicycle,
right?
And without
But our Talmud does tell us the importance of knowing how to swim.
I know, of course, but and the Haredi Shevel, they never read the Talmud. They say it's machlokes. It's machlokes. They didn't. That page I didn't study. Put it this way.
Tuvia Tenenbom.
Pages.
When do you start the world of journalism? Because I want to get to the point where you're writing these books and really investigating in your unique way. When did you start doing that?
One time, it was in 2008, I think. I was in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh.
Why?
Because I got an invitation from President Bush at that time to join the president on his Middle Eastern ride. And I took only the part of Saudi Arabia, because at that time a Jew could not go into Saudi Arabia, especially a Jew who was born in Israel and served in the Israeli army. I tried to take a visa on the Saudi website, and 2 questions I couldn't answer. Were you born? You have a list of countries. Israel did not exist.
Right.
What religion did you grow up in? Judaism did not exist.
Right.
But the White House, I told the White House, are you making fun of me? I mean, it's like, I cannot get on my own. You should have known that I couldn't get on my own. I said, don't worry, send us a passport, we'll get you the visa. So I sent them the passport, and 3 days later I had it already with a stamp from the Saudi consulate, the Saudi government, and it says on it that I am in the delegation of the United States presidents.
Right.
Means I'm totally kosher.
And you were invited because you were a journalist.
Yeah, because I wrote a few little things. It's like all my life I studied journalism, one of the things. So I wrote in little papers here and there. And then I wrote an article in the Italian paper called Corriere della Sera, and they put it on front page. Does a Jew get along in Saudi Arabia? It was very funny. And then somebody from the German side, called me up and said, Tuvia, can you write for us also about your experiences in Saudi Arabia? So I wrote them, and obviously the German audience loved the article, and they said, give us this man more and more. We forgot already what Jewish humor is. We forgot already one of the letters, for example, said, after we killed the Jews, we don't even know what Jewish humor is. And it's so beautiful.
It was a humorous article.
Yeah. So by the end of the day, I started writing for them, and I wrote more and more and more. One time I even wrote from Hebron, an whole article about Hebron.
How many languages do you know?
A little bit English.
Yeah, we got that.
A little bit Yiddish.
Yeah.
A little bit Hebrew.
Any others?
Little bit German, and a little bit Arabic.
All self-taught?
Yes.
Interesting. Tuvia Tenenbom is with us. Does that trip become part of your first book?
So just a second now. So after I have started writing for the Zeit, which is one of the biggest and most important papers in Germany, it's like the New York Times of Germany.
Right.
Only higher level of journalism.
Right.
So I started writing for them, and then one day I get a call I got an email from one of the publishing companies in Germany. Would I mind, the editor says, I love your articles in the Zeit, do you mind to write for us a book? Come to Germany and write a book for us. So I went there, came to Germany together with my Eishes Chayil, and we traveled around Germany for a long time, and then the book came out, I Sleep in Hitler's Room. And that started.
And that title was, why that title?
Why the title? Because I actually slept in Hitler's room.
Literally, in his bedroom.
Literally, yeah, in his room. He had a place he was in charge of renewing. It's called the Elephant Hotel. Today it's in Weimar today. And after the Weimar Republic, when he became the leader, he made it with with an architect, whatever, redid it, and then he had one room, one suite that was his. When he came to Weimar, to that place, the Germans were, the people were gathering in a big square in front of the hotel, and they were yelling and screaming, Führer, Führer, get out of your elephant house, and then the Führer would get out and stand in the balcony, do Segal, and the audience would go crazy. So that's what...
and that's where you stayed.
So I stayed there. I went to the balcony. I saw like a bunch of Germans walking on the street, and I did Segal. I just wanted to see how they will do it. The way Hitler did it. They answered me back, Segal. It was very funny.
Are you serious? So is that the book where you expose what Europeans actually think of Jews?
Yes, that's the first one, and that became a huge bestseller in Germany. It was for months. It was on the Spiegel bestseller list. It's like the New York Times bestseller list.
But I thought that their desire is to try to express, that they've moved on from World War II and that they can't tolerate, being referred to the way they're referred to when it comes, to their attitude toward Jews. But
that's true. The publisher. And the publisher the first publisher, when they got the copy, my editor loved the book. She said, Tuvia, I cried and I left. And then the publisher, the head of the publishing company read the book and he sent me an email. He said, I'm sorry, I cannot publish it. You don't know how to write.
And what he really meant was, I can't publish
it. Can you teach me? He said, yes.
But what he really meant was that he can't
publish. I will edit the book. So he edited the book and said, no, it's a good book. And I looked at his editing. If somebody said, I can't stand the Jews, it changed it, I can't stand the Israeli. Right. If somebody said all the Jews to die, it changed that all. There was a chapter about Club 88, which is 88 stands for HH, which is Heil Hitler. There was a chapter in the book about a neo-Nazi club, and he took this all out. Basically, he made Germany look much nicer than the book was. So we had a big fight, and it became a big fight also in the German media. He broke the contract, and it all looked like doomed. But then another publishing company, Sokamp, got along, and they published the book, and it became
the real manuscript. They published the real manuscript.
Yeah, the real one.
And that's the translation we have of the book you actually wrote.
Exactly, and that became a huge bestseller. and that started the book business. I never thought about writing books.
Right.
And then the next book was about Catch the Jew.
Right.
No, my editor said to me, "You came to us to Germany, and you spent here months, and then you came out in a book with a book claiming that 80% of us are anti-Semites. Okay, now I challenge you: go to your country where you are born, to Israel, stay there a few months, and come with a book. See what you come up with a book about you guys." So I accepted it. We agreed on the price, whatever it is.
Right.
And there we went to Israel, and then the book Catch the Jew came out, and it became also a huge, huge bestseller.
And in that book, you're going around Israel as a German, right? Nobody knows you're
Yes.
Jewish.
Yeah. At that time, nobody knew me.
And what do you discover? What's the reaction?
What I discovered that underneath the noses of the Israelis, you have all these peace-loving Europeans with all their NGOs, and I discovered that they are not peace lovers. They are just simple anti-Semites. So I became very
self-hating
friendly.
Jews. Would that be the right self-hating Jews?
That too, but many of them from the European NGOs are not even Jews. They just come there. And the idea, what they come, that's why the name of the book is To Catch a Jew. That's the idea. So, and I became very friendly with Jibril Rajoub, which at the time he was number 2 of the Palestinian leadership of the PLO. We became very, very, very good friendly. He didn't know that I'm Jewish, of course. He thought I'm a Nazi German. And we became very, very friendly, very, very close. And he opened the doors for me to anybody I wanted. And I was walking in Ramallah, in Jenin. I was like a king. Everybody knows that I'm a friend of Jibril, and everything, all the foundations, the NGOs, they're all my friends because I was walking in the high classes of the Palestinian world. And it was amazing. So one day we were in Israel, one day with the Palestinians for months. And Jibril told me the truth, what he thinks. He told me what the PLO thinks. They just want the Jews to get out of there forever, and nobody wanted peace. And he spoke really badly about Jews, the Palestinian leadership, like I heard the worst thing about Jews. And then I realized what the NGOs are doing, what all the peace movements are doing there, They are basically running there to catch a Jew. And if they didn't catch a Jew doing something wrong, they try to make him do something wrong, whatever.
Wow.
They will throw stones at him, and then nobody's
set him up. They tried to set him up.
Set him up, and the Jews throw stone back. That's when the camera start. So the whole thing, and then I also found that like one of the B'Tselem, which is the Jewish,
right,
very left. Peaceniks, and I found out. Talking with one of their biggest activists over there, the top activist, and he told me the Holocaust is a lie, never happened. That's
a B'Tselem activist told you.
A B'Tselem activist, yeah. And I recorded him, and I have a video of it. Of course, in the beginning, B'Tselem went crazy. They denied that it happened. They denied that he ever said it. They called me a liar. They made a whole spiel with the American media. They tried to say to the American media that I am a liar. So what did I do? I took the thing and I put it on Facebook, and then they didn't have a choice,
right. Are you a marked man? Are there people who would like to come after you after doing all this undercover work?
I don't think about it in those terms. If I thought in those terms, I wouldn't be able to move.
So you don't travel with security?
No, God forbid. God forbid.
And obviously, the adventure you just told us about, Catch the Jew, that resulted in the book Catch the Jew, obviously that was an undercover job. How difficult is it to remain undercover? How hard is it to maintain that, this whole charade?
You have to understand the mentality. You have to know how to speak Arabic, and you have to understand the mentality, the Palestinian mentality and the Middle Eastern mentality, because otherwise you are not going to make it.
If you say one oiveh, they got you.
Of course, if I say one oiveh, they got me. So and sometimes they started talking to me in Hebrew. I would say, "Excuse-moi, what language is this? This is the language of the dogs. I don't understand one word you're saying." Stuff like that. So you always have to, and they say a lie, you have to say a double lie. You have to understand that the whole spiel, you know.
It takes
And
training. It takes training, no?
no, it takes thinking. It takes Reb Shimon's cop.
But you have to train yourself. Otherwise, you could slip and make
But
a
it takes
mistake.
a bit of brain to a bit of, you know, you have to think.
Did you ever think of Ellie Cohen when you were doing this?
No, I didn't think about that, you know, because it's like I was totally different, you know. I went to this on the streets. I did whatever I wanted, you know. It's like, you know, people thought that I am the savior of Palestine. You
Right.
know, it was like amazing.
No, understood. Tuvia Tenenbom
I
was
remember one day we were in the house of Jibril Rajub, and Jibril says to me, from this day on, because I called myself Toby from Germany, Toby min Almania. So he says in front of these people, he says, from this day on, your name is not Toby anymore. And I said, oh God, he knows what's my name. He says, from this day on, your name is Abu Ali. Abu Ali.
he gave you an Arabic name.
Yeah, and all the people around me said to me, Tuvia, you know what's honor? That the commander, the colonel, the Jibril Khachub gave you, you know what it means? I said, what does it mean? Abu Ali in Arabic, it means the father of Ali. They said, no, 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 no. Abu Ali is a term of endearment. This is the highest respect we can give to people like you, to white people, to Europeans. And I found out that the other European white man who got this honor of being called Abu Ali was Adolf Hitler. So they put me on the same level as Adolf Hitler. I said to myself, wow, what an honor.
Who gave Hitler the name?
The Palestinian at the time, you know. The Sheikh, the Mufti, I know, gave it to him.
The Mufti. I was trying to think of it. The Mufti, right?
Yeah.
From this, you went to check out some of the refugee camps in Germany, right?
No, that's after that. And then we did a journey in America.
Oh, you
That
did
book
America
is called-
first.
Yeah, that book is called
The Lies They Tell.
The Lies They Tell. And that's when I discovered for the first time how anti-Semitic this country is.
Where? What cities were you in?
Everywhere. 28 states, including, of course, New York, Washington.
Even in New York, you found anti-Semites?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I recorded this anti-Semitism all over, and it was amazing. Also recorded the Jewish auto-anti-Semitism, self-anti-Semitism.
Right.
You know, it's like you go to temples, you know, on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, and you hear the rabbis telling you that we have to pray for the holy souls of Gaza,
Right.
which have been tortured and killed by the Arab Jews, the Zionists, you know, and it's like, it was amazing. So I heard all these things. It was like, you know, I recorded. I remember when the book came out, people said to me, what are you talking? You are inventing things. Now the people say, Tuvia, sorry for saying that.
Yeah, because
we found out before us. I mean, I'm not a Novi. I'm not a prophet. How did I do it?
But people have been exposed.
Sitting in the car, turning the machine on, driving and talking to people from 28 states. You know, plus Washington, D.C. I mean, it was like amazing to see the anti-Semitism in this country. You know, people tell me they have nightmares just thinking about Jews. I mean, it was like frightening to hear what I heard.
And imagine how much worse it is now.
It's the same thing. Now it's in public. Now they are not ashamed. You don't need me to go there and tell you the things. You don't
now
need
it's been exposed. Now
you just see it on the street.
Yeah, you know? Understood. Someone once said to me, someone in law enforcement once said to me, you have to remember something. Everybody hates Jews. Yeah. And of course, that sounds like a very harsh, you know, terrible summation, irresponsible summation of the situation.
But it's true.
I was just say, you could confirm that that's the case.
Yeah, but the more horrible thing is, I find out many of these NGOs and foundations that are anti-Jewish, if you dig deep inside them, the person who is like stirring the pot is most likely a Jew.
Right.
And that's what's frightening.
Well, they taught you in B'nai Brak about the Erev Rav, didn't they?
I mean, if it was just Erev Rav, we will not have so many NGOs, you know, and so many Jews, you know, who are doing this. You know, it's us. It's time that we look at ourselves, look at the mirror. You know, then there was a book about Britain, you know, the taming of the Jew. The taming of the Jew. But, and what the anti-Semitism.
First you did Hello Refugees.
Hello Refugees. That's about the the Germans, the
refugee camps in Germany.
Refugees in the refugee camps in Germany, which was shocking to see the whole thing, the whole machine operates. And then
Naming of the Jews.
The funny thing, during the book about the refugees, so we used to spend a lot of time with the refugees and with the Germans. I found out that the Germans are much more anti-Semitic than the refugees. The ones from Syria, from Lebanon, much more anti-Semitic than them. It's like, I didn't hear so much anti-Semitism. Nobody was like obsessed with Jews, from the refugees. The Syrians, they didn't care. Okay.
But the Europeans were.
But the Europeans, yeah. The white men, they are the biggest haters of Jews, more than the Arabs, more than the Palestinians, more than everyone. It was like amazing. And then I try to interview people from all these NGOs, solidarity with Palestine, all these things, London with Palestine, all these things. So I'm going to interview them. And I thought I'm going to meet Palestinians. No, white people, right. And many times Jews.
Well, as many people remind us, Jewish history with Christianity was much more brutal than Jewish history with Islam.
Of course. And it is to this day. You cannot change the cultural history.
Unbelievable. To this day. Yeah. And all of this that we just described, this list of your incredible works, all of it's undercover, all of it's with the bravery and courageousness that I keep pointing out, and you're able to maintain this facade in every one of these situations.
Thank you. So except for of course, the book about the Haredim, which was not under any assumed thing. Everybody knew who I was from the beginning.
Yeah, let me just tell everybody, the latest book, Tuvia's sixth book, is called Careful Beauties Ahead. It was published in May of 2024. Again, it's called Careful Beauties Ahead, and it's about Mea Shearim. And you didn't have to go undercover, and you couldn't have, right? You couldn't have gone undercover because they knew you there, as you said.
Exactly. So there was no point of going undercover. But it's not just, Mea Shearim was the base. But it's a book about Haredim from A to Z in Israel, wherever,
So what did you learn about the Haredi community?
I learned that I personally might not be religious, but I am Haredi.
You have to explain that.
This is first of all I learned, and it's like personal, because you are closest to yourself. I learned I'm Haredi. I think like them. My sense of humor is Haredi. You can see me. Friday night we do like Shabbos thing, the theater and us. We are inviting people for Shabbos. I have a table, that it's totally Haredi.
You have a tish. You make a tish.
I have a tish. It's like a Rebbe, It's just like a dish, It's like all the songs, all the MSDK, Zion, Aloite Shali.
That's what you sing.
Aloite Shali, Lishloim Asiroi.
How ironic!
Zion. Zion. Nobody in the Upper East Side where we live sing these songs.
But how ironic that a Haredi is singing about Zion.
Yeah, of course. Remember, this is also the song about all the people who got arrested by the Israeli police.
Correct.
So it's like, but yeah, that's the first thing you learn. The food that you like the most is the food you have in Mea Shearim, the Haredi food.
You like the so it was a very positive experience.
Amazingly positive. It's like from the time I opened my eyes in the morning till the time I went to sleep, I was laughing. These people make me laugh. They have such a healthy sense of humor.
And their attitude toward Israel, toward other people who are of the Jewish faith, did that come up? Was that an issue?
Of course it came up. Of course, 10,000 times. But you have to see the people who are making the big spiel, the big anti-thing in the demonstrations. First of all, is the group called Peleg. Peleg, they are the worst. And their leader is Shmuel Markovitz, whom I know personally. He's my family, Rabbi Markovitz, and which I never liked him. And this is one of the groups. But most of the times you don't see that. You don't see the Sinas Israel. You don't see that. I remember I gave interviews to rabbis. I interviewed the rabbis. It was, from my understanding, the first time rabbis agreed to be interviewed. So
in Yiddish.
The title, what?
In Yiddish,
of course. So I interviewed the Rebbe of Toldos Aaron. The Rebbe of Toldos Aaron. Toldos Aaron is one of the biggest, the ones who got the Ksrenis Passim with the
They
golden.
are Mea Shearim. They're Mea Shearim.
They are Mea Shearim. They are Mea Shearim. So I go to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told the star, and I ask him a question. And I asked him, what would happen if a Tzioni came to the shul, to your shul? What will you do? Tzioni means Tzioni, non-religious in that lingo.
Right.
So the Rebbe says to me, if he came to fight with us, what can I do? I have not many choices. If he did not come to fight with us, what kind of question is? Wir seien alle Juden. We are all Jews. I said, this anti-Zionist, Haredi, the father of Haredim, the mother of Haredim, he has more Avas Yisrael, than anybody I know in Israeli politics, than all the 120 Knesset members. He has more Avas Yisrael. Where did you see somebody, even from Tzinu Dati to Tzma Yehudi, where do you see anybody talks like this? Says, we are all Jews. We have to welcome everybody. Who says that? Who?
You know what you've taught me?
The Rebbe of Toldosan.
You know what you taught me, Tuvia? You can take the man out of Bnei Brak, but you can't take Bnei Brak out of the man.
Yeah. But by the end of the day, it was amazing. It was amazing. And the food, I love the food.
How long were you there? How long did you move in there for?
For about a year and a half.
What? You were 18 months in Mea Shearim?
Yeah, and Bnei Brak.
Wow.
I spent time in Bnei Brak also.
Did you get into the biannual rituals? Did you enjoy Pesach and Sukkot in Mea Shearim?
Of course. Of course.
And even though you've gone in a certain direction,
so I took Sukkot, you go Simchas B'Shoeva, so I go to Torah Ve'ire, which is I got another extreme with the extreme. It's a split from the Natura Karte. Right. More religion than them. I walk in and I have my telephone on me, and immediately I just walk in, 20 kids, because they've never seen a man who looks like me, it's like they come to see who is the animal. So I started talking to them in Yiddish. So you're like, psh, all the walls tumble down, because my Yiddish, and it was like totally. And then one of them says to me, what is this? I said to him, this is a smartphone. And he said, and I said to him, what is bothering you? And put it in the pocket if it bothers you to look at it. He said, no. If you want us to do you a favor, give us the phone and we'll break it for you. I said, I need this phone. It's my job. It's my parnuse. I make money out of this. And all of a sudden, an older man was standing by. I said, what is your parnuse? What is your job? I said, I'm a schreiber. I'm a writer. So he says to the kids,
leave him alone.
Make man.
Right. And that was at the Simchas Beis HaShoeva.
Yeah, Simchas Beis HaShoeva. Yeah.
Did you bake matzahs in Mea Shearim?
No.
You're not into that.
I did it when I was young, and it is not an exciting thing to do, so I didn't this, And when I did it as a teenager, I got paid for it at least, so like, no, I'm not going to do, So yeah. But today it was very interesting. Now we were like the next book that comes out, will come out next year, is about the Mitnachalim, the settlements.
Who did you spend time with there?
Oh, everybody I could. I mean, it's like God, almost everybody. We
you were a Rappaport.
Of course, you're a Rappaport. No question about
Baruch Marzel.
Of course, Baruch Marzel.
It's Rome. It's Chayei Sarah. We have to talk about Baruch Marzel.
Of course, I know. So I spent we spent like every 2-3 weeks, we moved to another settlements.
Give me a name. Give me some settlement names.
Elon More, Itzar, Vered Yericho, Patzael, the non-religious, the religious, okay. Emmanuel, the Haredi. I mean, it's like every time somewhere else. Ofra, Efrat, Bata'ain, everything you can imagine. Alon Shvut,
Were you as happily? Did you meet Daniela Weiss?
Of course.
Were you as happy and as enthralled with the Mitnachalim as you were in Mea Shearim?
It's a totally different thing. First of all, the Mitnachalim don't have the sense of humor.
Right. They're serious people.
They're serious people. Number two, their food habits, their eating habits is very different. It's more like San Francisco. Right. You go Shabbos, you are invited, always invited. It's like we lived with
hummus and pita.
So would be good. Salad,
Right.
salads, salad, quinoa, salad, everything is healthy. I say, Ribono Shel Olam, how can you live like this? Don't you have chalt? No, God, no, it's
Not
not
good for you.
healthy. It's not healthy. It's like I said to him, you know what? I send you all to San Francisco, to California. You don't belong in this land. It's like, I mean, it was like amazing. The food was horrible.
But you're not being fair. I've had plenty of good chalt in Chevron. You're not being fair.
Okay, maybe you had good chalt in Hebron. I did not have good chalt in Hebron. Mason did it just for you, but I did not have good. I lived in Hebron too. We lived
Where?
in Bet Rachel
You lived in Beit Rachel for how long?
for 3 weeks or something.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
So you're a serious investigator. You go.
You can do a book about the settlers and the settlements without living there. I was like, I can't believe it. A professor in Ben Gurion University said to me, he's very famous, and she said to me, Tuvia, you made history. I said, what history? She said, look, I did not read your book yet, but I can tell you, you are the first one who actually lived with the settlers to write about them.
Right.
Nobody has done it.
Right.
Maximum somebody would come for 2 days.
When does that?
For 2 hours.
When does that book?
They have no idea who the settlers are. So I learned the settlers. They have a lot of good things, of course.
When does that book come out?
In the middle of next year somewhere.
And have you been back to Ma'alot since Hesder Yeshiva or not?
Of course.
You have been?
Yeah.
As a kid, Ma'alot.
It was a different Ma'alot. In my time, Ma'alot was like, basically only Moroccans and us. Moroccan immigrants, Sephardi. Ma'alot is now different, it's like.
To me, as a kid in my generation, Ma'alot meant one thing: one of the worst terror attacks in Israel's history.
Yeah, of course.
That Friday night.
Of course. I mean, in Ma'alot, when we were in the yeshiva, it's like 24 hours a day. I had the M16 on me.
Right.
For 4 years.
Other areas of Israel have caught up to the danger. Right. A lot of other areas of Israel where people need to walk around.
I mean, the funny thing, especially during the war, the settlements were the safest place to be.
Right.
Because of the rockets. Almost no rockets fell in that area. Very few in that area.
But there's another reason.
Yeah.
I wonder if you agree with this, because both the quote unquote settlement side, as much as I don't like that word, and the Arab side. Israel was showing its strength, its power, and it made the enemy rethink whether they're going to embark on wanton terror attacks. Does that theory hold any water for you or not?
No, it doesn't hold any water.
Wow.
I mean, there are every day attempts at terror attacks in all the area.
War or not war, no matter what.
War or not war, to this day, there are all the times. It's like I interviewed so many soldiers. I mean, officers, they constantly have to go, like in Elon Moreh, for example. There is not a day going by that the people around in Shechem and the area, who are not planning to infiltrate Elon Moreh and kill the people. In many places like that. I mean, it's like it's a constant war, and you cannot let go. So the Israeli army is very good in preventing it, especially the Shabak. The secret. The Shabak is doing an amazing job. I mean, people don't even know.
People on this side of the world will never understand the neighborhood that Israel's in, right? They'll never.
No. And because the journalists who are there to tell them the story, how do people know about anything? They read in journalists. They read papers or they watch TV.
They're staying in a hotel and they're flying back.
They're not even staying in hotels. I mean, it's like they live most of the time in Yafo. Jaffa, and there they go to restaurants and they write on their computers, they open their computers and they write Gaza Strip. They are not in Gaza Strip, they are in Jaffa. And they write as if they were in Gaza Strip or as if they were in Hebron or whatever. You hardly see, and I mean, it's like I lived with the settlers so much, I've seen journalists. They come for 2 hours maximum.
Right.
And then they already create, they tell you what the settlers are and what from them. The settlers are not inhumans, they are cannibals. They kill Palestinians for breakfast. I mean, it's like, the journalists don't know. They came with their anti-Jewish ideas and anti-Semitic ideas, and they come here and they just exercise those ideas.
Tuvia, I can't thank you enough for all this time. Everybody should check out Tuvia Tenenbom's books. They're available on Amazon. They're available everywhere, right? And what was the worst when it comes to the lies they tell about the United States? What was the worst episode you had? Where was it? What city? Give me something of note that happened which showed you the ferociousness of the anti-Semitism in this country.
Everywhere and anywhere, but the most things that I will remember, I'll never forget, is the self-hate of the Jews.
Where?
To go to Yom Kippur, to go to a shul in Colorado, for example, and the rabbi talks about the horrible things we do in Israel. And next to remember the innocent people of Gaza, the innocent people of the West Bank, who are nice people. And then she makes a prayer for the Palestinians against the Jews. So the worst for me as a Jew.
The worst anti-Semitism you saw in the United States came from Jews.
Exactly.
Wow.
Or to go to, there was a conference of Christian CFI, whatever they call it, Christian for Israel, in Washington, D.C. Right. And there was demonstration outside of Jewish Voice for Peace. The way they talked about Jews, in your program, I'll not even say the names, I'll not repeat those names because there are so many explicits, And who did that? Jews. And who tried to stop those Christians from loving Jews? The Jews themselves. They are fighting. They are like amazingly horrible. The way they talked about Jews, like Nazis. So if you ask me what is for me as a Jew the worst of all the anti-Semitism I saw in the land, is the self-hating of the Jews. And the fact is that none of us, not me, of course, none of us of the Jews, the leadership of Jews, they don't open their mouths against it. It's like if it doesn't exist, they don't want to see it. I want to hear the voices from the Jewish organization saying, okay, what these Jews are doing is horrible. No, they don't say it. I'm sorry to say, J Street is a garbage. I have been to the conferences. Once I heard J Street people, rabbis, tell me to the Germans, because you thought I'm a journalist. Right. What I heard them telling me, I bet the Jews are, they admit it. It's like, what it does to you, it's like you cannot forget it. So, of course, as a German, I tell them, yeah, you're all right. It's good that you came up with it. Very good idea. And I'm just listening to myself.
Very perceptive.
What's going on for it? These are Jews talking about Jews.
If it wasn't so sad, it would be funny, huh?
I know. It's actually funny. Sad and funny. And Badman, have a wonderful day.
You really do know your
Hebrew. And Shabbos. Agit Shabbos.
Wait a second. Is it Agit Shabbos or Shabbat Shalom? Which one is it? I need to know.
Agit Shabbos.
Agit Shabbos. Thank you, Tuvia.
With Agit Shabbos, you're going to get that phone.
Everybody, check out his books. They're all available on Amazon. The most recent one, Careful Beauties Ahead, is the one he wrote after spending all that time, a year and a half, in Mea Shearim. And next year, I hope we'll have him back because he's going to have his evaluation of who he calls the settlers, the mitnachlim, the ones we call the amazing heroes of Yudah and Shomron and those areas of Israel. And we'll speak with him, please God, about that once that book comes out. Again, check out all his work online. Tuvia Tenenbom, Tenenbom. More coming up. It's Thursday, and you're listening to JM in the AM.